Got a big cybersecurity interview coming up? Feeling that pressure? Well, you're not alone. But what if I told you the secret to landing the job isn't about memorizing a million technical questions? Today, we are going to crack the code on the one thing hiring managers are really looking for, and that's a winning mindset.
So how do you actually do that? How do you stand out when you're up against a bunch of other qualified people? Look, it's not about having some perfect, pre-canned answer for every single question. It's about showing them how you think. A mindset that's practical, solid in the fundamentals, and always focused on the business. So let's break down how you build that.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to tackle the 3 most common mistakes that trip people up, even really smart people. We're talking weak foundations, having all the theory but no real practice, and, of course, failing to communicate. Stick with me, and by the end of this, you'll have the blueprint for that winning mindset that gets you the job offer.
Okay, mistake number 1, a weak foundation. You know, it's so tempting to want to talk about all the cool advanced stuff, but you would be shocked at how many candidates completely fall apart on the absolute basics. And let me tell you, hiring managers, they can smell a bluff from a mile away.
So here's a classic. This one question is like an instant litmus test. Explain the difference between a vulnerability, a threat, and a risk. Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? But your answer tells them everything about whether you truly get the core of cybersecurity or if you've just been memorizing flashcards.
I mean, just look at the difference. On one side, you have this vague, dismissive answer. On the other, it's precise, it's structured, and it immediately shows you understand how these things are all connected. That is the kind of clarity that interviewers are listening for. It's the first hint that you've got that winning mindset.
Let's just make this super real with an example. So you've got an unpatched server. That's your vulnerability. It's like leaving your front door unlocked. The ransomware? That's the threat. That's the burglar who sees that unlocked door. And the risk, well, that's the real-world pain. The data that gets stolen, the cost of being offline, the hit to the company's reputation. This is how you prove you don't just know the definitions, you understand the consequences.
All right, on to mistake number 2, and this one is just as huge, being all theory and no practice. In cyber, you have got to prove you can actually do the work, not just talk a good game. Your knowledge has to be battle-tested.
So to test this, an interviewer might hit you with a real-world scenario, something like, walk me through the steps you would take to investigate a phishing incident. They're not looking for a chapter from a textbook here. They want to see your actual playbook, your thought process. They want to see you solve the problem.
The difference here is just, it's night and day. A weak answer is so passive, it basically brushes off a major security incident. But a strong answer? Man, that's a clear, methodical, step-by-step plan. It proves you're not just reacting, you're executing a strategy you've clearly thought about before.
And just look at the detail in that strong response. Isolate, collect and analyze, investigate, remediate, and document. Every single step is deliberate and crucial. You're not just saying you'd analyze links, you're saying you do it in a sandbox, a safe place, so you don't detonate anything nasty on the network. See? That's not theory. That level of detail proves you've either done this for real or you spent serious time practicing in a home lab. It's proof.
And this really just nails it. You can't theorize your way into a cybersecurity job. It's just impossible. Any good interviewer is trained to poke and prod until they find out if you've actually done the work. And if you haven't, it becomes obvious really fast. So the message is clear. Build that home lab, get your hands dirty, and start creating the stories you're going to tell in that interview.
Okay, let's hit our third and final mistake. And this is a biggie that often separates the junior folks from the senior leaders. And that's communication. It is not enough to be a technical whiz. You have to be able to explain why what you do matters to the business.
An interviewer will probably test this directly. They'll ask something like, how do you explain a technical concept to a non-technical person? But what they're really asking is, can you drop the jargon and speak the language of the business, the language of risk, value, and impact? This skill will absolutely make or break your career.
And here is a perfect example of how to do it right. Instead of geeking out about authentication protocols, you use a simple, powerful analogy. MFA is like a second lock on your door. Boom. Instantly, everyone in the room, from the CEO to the marketing intern, gets it. You've just explained a complex idea and justified why it's important, all without a single piece of tech speak. That's gold.
The trick is to always know who you're talking to. For your non-technical teammates, those simple, real-life analogies are your best friends. But when you're talking to the leadership team, you got to speak their language. And their language is money. You need to quantify the risk. Put a dollar amount on what a data breach could cost. That is how you get their attention, their respect, and the budget for your security projects.
So we've picked apart the 3 biggest mistakes that can completely tank a cyber interview. Now, let's put it all back together. Let's forge that winning mindset that's not just going to get you through the interview, but will actually land you the job. It really just comes down to these 3 pillars. First, a rock-solid foundation. You got to go beyond just memorizing stuff and truly understand why it works. Second, practical application. You need stories and detailed examples ready to go that show you've been in the trenches. And third, business communication. You have to connect every technical thing you do back to the big picture of protecting the company's bottom line.
So here's the bottom line. Your next interview, it starts right now. The stories you're going to tell, the confidence you're going to have, all of it comes from the work you put in today. So I'll leave you with this question. What project are you going to start today to build the experience you'll be talking about tomorrow?